That's me, Richard Vaughan. I've been Richard Vaughan since the day I was born, really. I've been Richard Vaughan all my life. I'm a little bit tired of being Richard Vaughan, but for the purposes of right now, I'm still Richard Vaughan and I'm still an English teacher. I've been teaching English. I've been teaching English for, my God, 4 centuries? No. I've been teaching English for 45 years, yes. I've been living in Spain for 45 years. I've been sitting here in front of you for 1 minute or less than 1 minute. I've been Richard Vaughan all my life. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Are we still in the air? All right. So, I've been Richard Vaughan all my life, and I'm sitting here in front of you, teaching you a class, but I'm waiting for your questions, because if you send me questions, then I will focus the teaching on your specific queries, on your specific inquiries, on your specific questions. But until then, I'm going to start teaching the present perfect continuous, or the present perfect, because we say in English, presente perfecto or presente perfecto continuo. In Spanish, you usually say el pretérito perfecto. It's interesting, especially here in Spain. People say, esta mañana o esta noche he dormido mal. And it's impossible to say that in English. You have to say, anoche dormí mal. Last night I slept, or I didn't sleep very well. Last night I didn't get much sleep. To get sleep, did you get much sleep last night? No, I didn't get much sleep last night. I need to get some sleep. Necesito dormir un poco más. We say, necesito conseguir un poco más de sueño. Curiosa expresión en inglés, pero es muy corriente. I need to get some sleep. Really, I'm sleepy. Look at my eyes. I'm sleepy. Can't you tell? ¿A qué se nota? Can't you tell? Can't you tell? Tell nada más de decir o contar. Tell also is distinguir, percibir, notar. ¿A qué tengo sueño? No lo notas. I'm sleepy. Can't you tell? It's because I didn't get enough sleep last night. I didn't get enough sleep. So present perfect continuous. I have questions coming, but nobody yet. Only from Tracy. Hello, Tracy. But nevertheless, the present perfect continuous. It's present perfect, which means you go back to a starting date and continue until now, inclusive. Sigue en vigor la acción. Yo sigo viviendo en España. Empecé a vivir hace 45 años y sigue viviendo aquí. Por lo tanto, sigue en vigor, sigue vigente en mí el hecho de vivir aquí. So, present perfect continuous. I've been living in Spain. In Spanish, if you say, he estado viviendo en España 45 años, parece que ya no vivo en España. But in English, no, lo contrario. I've been living in Spain for 45 years. I've been teaching English for 45 years. I've been married for a long time. I've been married for 43 years. And I've been sitting on this couch or this sofa for three or 4 or 5 minutes. I've been looking at you for 5 minutes. I've been speaking to you for 5 minutes. I've been using this office. I've been working in this specific office for 9 years. And I've been wearing this watch since this morning, since the moment I left home. I put on my watch about 5 or 10 seconds before leaving my house. So I've been wearing this watch since 7 o'clock this morning. I've been wearing this watch for, let's see, I've been wearing this watch for 5 hours. I've been wearing this watch for 5 hours. But now I'm going to take it off. Now I'm taking my watch off. I haven't taken it off yet. I'm still taking it off, but I'll finish in a minute. Now I'm not wearing my watch anymore. I'm holding it in my right hand. I'm holding it in front of you. I'm turning it around. Now the watch is facing me, but now I'm going to turn the watch back around. In which case, in cuyo caso, in which case the watch will be facing you. But I haven't done it yet. I'm still holding the watch is still facing me. But in a few moments it will be facing you because I will turn it around. But I haven't started yet. I'm still holding it facing me. But now I'm going to turn it around, and now I'm turning it around. I'm in the process of turning it around, but I haven't finished turning it around yet. And now my watch is facing you. Yeah, my watch is facing you. It's not facing me anymore. Why? Because now it's facing you. Why? Because I have already turned it. Enlazamos. Turned it. I've already turned it around, and now it's facing you. So I'm not wearing my watch anymore, and my watch isn't facing me anymore. Why? Because I took it off, and then I turned it facing you. But now I'm going to put it back on. I'm going to put my watch back on. I'm going to put it back on. And you can watch while I'm putting it back on. But I haven't started yet. Pronunciación. Digan yet. No digan jet, como un reactor. Por ejemplo, voy a comprar un reactor. I'm going to buy a jet. A jet. Fíjense la pronunciación. Jet. Voy a comprar un reactor, un avión, una reacción. I'm going to buy a jet. Pero no lo he comprado todavía. I haven't bought the jet yet. I haven't bought the jet yet. Hielo, hiedra, hierba, yet. Hierba, yet. Hielo, yet. Yes. Yesterday, yet. So, I'm going to put my watch back on. But I haven't started yet. Are you ready? Watch. Now, I'm putting my watch back on. But I haven't finished putting it on yet. Not yet, but I'm still putting it on. En ambos casos se dice todavía en español. No me lo he puesto todavía porque todavía me lo estoy poniendo. Okay, I haven't put on my watch yet because I'm still putting it on. So in one case, yet, in the other case, still. I haven't put on my watch yet. I'm not wearing my watch yet because I haven't put it on yet because I'm still putting it on. Yeah. Now I'm wearing my watch again. I have put it back on. I'm not holding it in my hand anymore. It's not facing me anymore. It's not facing you anymore. Why? Because I put it back on. When did you put it back on, Richard? I put it back on. I put it back on. Just a few seconds ago. Finally, we have some questions coming in, I think. Yes. I always have trouble talking about driving. Driving's easy. Don't you know how to drive? Wait. Yes, I think speaking English when he drives. How to say adelantar a alguien? Una curva, cuesta arriba, cuesta abajo. That's easy. Come on. Easy peasy, Japanesey. All right. It depends if you're in America or in Great Britain. If you're driving along in my automobile, and the car in front of you is going too slow, well, there are two expressions you can use, or two verbs. One, in the United States, we say to pass, simply to pass, pasar. And in Great Britain, they usually say to overtake. Yeah, so if you're driving behind a car, say, my God, this car is going so slowly. And you check, well, in Britain, you check this way. In America, you check this way. All right, so be careful. And then if you see that there's no oncoming traffic, then you can pull out into the opposite lane and overtake the car. Accelerating. You need to press the gas pedal, to press the throttle, to accelerate. And then you need to quickly get back into your own lane. And then you have overtaken the slow car. Or in the United States, you passed. We don't say to overtake. We say to pass. To pass. And be careful, because do not pass on a hill or slope unless you have a periscope. Now, cars don't have periscopes. ¿Periscopios tiene tu coche? No. So, do not pass on a hill or slope. Slope is una inclinación, unless you have a periscope. So, to overtake or to pass. Now, the question also talks about a curve. Curve. Yeah, going around a curve. Curve, curva, curve. C-U-R-V-E. Now, don't confuse curve with curb. Con la B. Curb is el bordillo de la calle. Or as they say in Mexico, la banqueta. Cuidado con la banqueta. All right, cuidado con el bordillo. Be careful, the curb. In the curve, there's a curb. And the spelling's different. In the United States, it's C-U-R-B. And in Great Britain, I believe it's Kerb, crazy Brits. All right. So the curve. Now, so when you go around a curve, you drive around the curve. Sometimes we say to negotiate the curve, interestingly. A ver cómo negocio esta curva, to negotiate the curve, but just to drive around the curve. And then we have uphill and downhill. Uphill and downhill. Cuesta arriba is uphill. Todo junto. Uphill. O sea, colina arriba. Uphill, downhill. Uphill, downhill. And we used to, for example, if you're expert in skiing, in Olympic skiing, the three main events in Olympic skiing is the slalom, the giant slalom, and the downhill. El descenso. We call it el cuesta abajo. The downhill. All right. Once you go very, very fast. A bit dangerous. But in any case, so uphill, when you drive uphill, usually you need to accelerate more. When you drive downhill, you can coast. To coast means casi como vuelo sin motor. You can coast downhill. Now, downhill, uphill. More questions. Hello, Richard. How are you doing? Please, what's the difference between forever and for good? Forever means until the end of time, eternity. Forever is intimately connected to the idea of eternity. And for good means definitive. For example, the last love affair I had, I remember we met in April, at the beginning of April. By the end of April, I said to her, Dorothea, Dorothy, I will love you forever. Okay, forever. I'm very romantic. Dorothy, I will love you forever. By the end of June, I said, Dorothy, I'm leaving you for good. All right. So, you don't say, te dejo, te voy a dejar. Hasta la eternidad, no, para definitivo. Esto es definitivo. For good. So, for good es para siempre en el sentido de forma definitiva. Ya. No más. And forever means hasta el día del juicio final o para comer perdices y ser felices hasta la eternidad. Forever and ever until the end of time. Amen. Forever. May the Holy Spirit descend upon you and remain with you forever. I don't do that. What I do is I say, may the English language descend upon you and remain with you forever. Amen. In this case, you can't say for good. So for good simply means definitive. Yeah, no more. And it can be used negatively and positively or neutral. Basically, for good is neutral. Forever usually is positive, unless I'm in prison, life prison. So, what you would say, cadena perpetua. I mean, that's forever. And I'm in prison for good. In this case, you can say both. Although, probably if they send me to prison with a life sentence, I would probably say for good. It's more of a definitive idea. Because after I die, I will go to heaven probably, even though they send me to the prison. And I'll live in heaven forever. Okay, so forever and for good. Remember, forever is hasta la eternidad. For good means de forma definitiva. Next, more questions. Have you put or laid your watch? Neither one. I took off my watch and I put it on. I put it back on. Now I'm taking it back off and I'm putting it back on. Now, if this is I don't have a surface. If my hand is the surface of the table, this is a table, okay? Let's pretend that my hand is the surface of the table. Pretend, which is in English doesn't mean pretender. Pretension, yes. Pretension is like in Spanish, pretensiones. But the verb changes meaning. So pretend is like fijamos o supongamos, imaginemos que. Let's pretend that my hand is the surface of a table. Now I'm going to put the watch on the table. Or I'm going to lay the watch on the table. It's the same. Although to lay is usually colocar sobre una superficie de manera tumbada. You see, to lay, for example, if I have a statuilla, a statuette, I'll put it on the table. I will not lay it on the table. For example, let's say instead of a watch, let's pretend that this is a statuette. And I put it on the table like this. Now, I don't lay it on the table, I put it on the table. Now, if I'm very careful, because the statuette is made of ceramic material, it can break. It's fragile or fragile. Two pronunciations, fragile, fragile. And so I put it on the table like this, or I can lay it on the table carefully, to lay. Now, the British say lay the table for poner la mesa, para comer. The Americans say to set the table, to lay the table, to set the table. More questions. How do you say quita miedos in English? A guardrail, guardrail. As you're driving your car, riding along in my automobile, and you, on these highways or motorways, where you're going relatively fast, there are protections on either side. And those protections are designed to absorb the blow, el golpe. Blow, to blow, but blow is also un golpe. Un golpe bajo is a low blow. Y un golpe. Su muerte ha sido un golpe para mí. His death was a blow to me. But the blow against the guard rail, rail de guarda, o guardia. You understand? Guardrail. At least in the US. In the UK, maybe they have a different strange word for that. Who knows? Quita miedos. I think that's what quita miedos means, right? In Spanish. Okay, what's the best way to describe self-improving knowledge without paying any money? These days, I have been learning a lot from the internet at no cost. From the internet, At no cost. Only I'm doing it to get better at my job. I would like to explain clearly to my clients what I've been doing. Well, listen, querer es poder. Where there's a will, there's a way. The internet offers 10 billion pages of information and 10 million hours of listening opportunities. You can become the most intelligent person in the world using the internet if you apply the adage, el adagio, the adage, where there's a will, there's a way. If you put yourself to it, if you apply yourself, the internet can give you everything you need, but it requires self-discipline. Do you have the proper self-discipline? Do you have enough self-discipline? Long-term self-discipline, not simply self-discipline for this afternoon. Self-discipline for the next 1,000 afternoons. And then you can transform the internet into an incredible tool, a very powerful tool for self-improvement. Yes, sir. Everybody, you don't need me. I'm a catalyst, catalizador. My job is to inspire you. But the person who has to do the work is you. The problem is in your hands. The solution is in your hands. I can help you by good orientation, or I can help you with motivation, inspiration, etc. But finally, I can only take you halfway across the bridge. The rest of the way, you have to go by yourself. And many people can cross the bridge entirely by themselves if they have strong willpower, fuerza de voluntad, we say poder de voluntad, willpower, una sola palabra, willpower. If you have willpower and you're intelligent, you apply your intelligence and you work hard, you do your best, the internet can provide you maybe with everything you need. More questions. What's the correct one? Stick at it or stick to it? Stick to it. Correct one. Stick to it. Stick to it means don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Stick to it. Come on. Learning English, the secret of learning English is never to quit. Never give up. Just keep studying, keep working, keep speaking aloud, and stick to it. Stick to it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't let your guard down. Don't throw in the towel. Tirar la toalla means abandonar. But we say tirar dentro. Why? Because in the expression to throw in the towel, or tirar la toalla in Spanish, comes from the world of boxing. If you're the manager of your boxer, and your boxer is clearly losing the match and is in danger perhaps of injury, well, you take the towel and you throw it into the ring, el cuadrilátero, and that signals to the referee to stop the fight. And so they to throw in the towel. So in English, instead of saying throw the towel, like in Spanish, tirar la toalla, we say throw in the towel. So don't throw in the towel. Stick to it, stick to it, stick to it, all right? Mr. Richard, falta la D in Richard, eh? Un gusto saludarlo desde Peru. Wow, Peru. I was in Peru 2 weeks ago. Yes, for 7 days. Fantastic, but only Lima. Let's see. I've lost my place. Happy you're kidding. I've lost my place on Peru. Mohammed. Yes. No, I've lost my place. Sorry. Mr. Peru, we've lost, the screen went up and I lost my place. Happy for your job? Just kidding. Do you happy for your job? ¿Qué significa eso? Are you happy in your job? No, I hate it. I hate my job. Okay, Renzo Llana. Okay, hello, Mr. Richard. Yas con Perú otra vez. Saludos desde Perú, lo mejor que vi en mi vida. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, the next person. Do you happy for your job? Are you happy in your job or with your job? I hate it. I've been teaching English for 45 years. Ya está bien. I've been trying to teach people English and they don't learn. Yeah, I tell them people are and people say people is. Yeah. No, I think I like it. I think I would like any job. It's a question of my attitude. It's a question of attitude towards life, not towards a specific job. It's a question of attitude toward, I think. But who knows? Yes, I like my job. All right, dear Richard, I confused the meaning of dwell. Dwell? Why God? Dwell is morar. Morada, my dwelling, my humble, mi humilde morada, my humble dwelling. To dwell. Now, that's dwell. So the first meaning of dwell is morar o vivir. It's an old word for living, all right, to dwell. And a dwelling is a word for primitive anthropological and archaeological places where people lived. For example, there's certain Indian tribes in New Mexico and Arizona called the cliff dwellers, and they dwelled, moraban, vivían, in cliffs where they made to protect themselves with ladders to go up. That's cliff dwellers, my dwelling. But to dwell has a second meaning, and we say to dwell on, and this is important, to dwell on. No quiero morar en ese tema. ¿Qué significa eso? No quiero detenerme en ese tema, dwelling on that, como si viviera o morase sobre ese tema. Para dar una idea, es como un helicóptero. A helicopter can fly, but it can stop and hover above a point on the ground. It can hover. And imagine that point on the ground is a subject. And you stop and you hover above that subject, and you don't go to other subjects. But okay, in this case, we don't say hover like a helicopter, we say dwell. And so, morar sobre un tema para detenerse y entretenerse con un tema en cuestión. Okay, you say, don't dwell. I don't want to dwell on this subject anymore. It's a very common expression in English, to dwell on. More questions. Can you explain how to describe a graphic? Technical. Well, you have the X. I'm not an expert in geometry or in statistics. The X-axis and the Y-axis. The X-axis and the Y-axis. And then you have, my God, you've got me on that one. All right. The X-axis, el eje de la Y, el eje de la X, no? The X-axis and the Y-axis, and the different quadrants, etc. But I can't help you anymore on that. You caught me on something I don't know very much about. More questions. I got 6 on my IELTS test. What can you tell me about my level? I have no idea. I don't work with tests. I don't believe in tests for improving your English. Tests exist for proving to other people your level. But my job is to improve your English, not to test your English. And I really don't know. I'm not familiar with IELTS, the IELTS test, although I've heard the term used quite often, but I'm not very familiar with it. I can't tell you. Because the only thing that counts using English in the real world is that you can switch from your mother tongue to English and continue negotiating the contract successfully. Remember that. It doesn't matter what your level is. The objective is mastery, a total command of the second language, in this case, English. And so that's, it doesn't matter where you are on the scale. You need to continue moving up and getting better and better. And the only thing that counts is understanding perfectly. And many of these exams, many of these tests, don't properly test listening comprehension. And second, they don't test confidence when speaking. They test things that, in my opinion, are not priority. The priority is confidence and effectiveness of communication. Vale más, mucho más, la eficacia en la comunicación que la calidad en la expresión. Es mejor ser eficaz con errores que buscar la calidad y perderse en las ramas de la gramática. So, effectiveness of communication. And many times these tests don't measure effectiveness of communication, which is intimately connected to self-confidence and listening comprehension. So, but I can't tell you, I'm sorry about it. 6 on the ELTS test. Anir Abdel. Okay. Is it possible to learn 2 languages at the same time? Yes. I would recommend that you stay with one. I would recommend that you focus on English and reach a total command of English, then German. English is, for the moment in the world, English is so critical, so important, that you shouldn't dilute your effort. And you should focus on mastery of English, then move to German. Because if you stay on both of them, you could be what they call mal de muchos, consuelo de. And so no consuela. So to have a high intermediate level of German and English is not as good as having a perfect level of English and an low level of German, and then move the German up. But I would recommend that you not focus on 2 languages simultaneously, although you say, is it possible? Of course it's possible. You can study 4 languages simultaneously. But English is so important in the professional world that I think you should avoid diluting your effort, adding a second or a third language into the equation. All right, more. Yes. Does your seniority as a teacher help you learn other languages? I don't think it's a question of my seniority, the number of years. Teaching a language, even after 6 months of teaching it, your mindset is within the structure, the practical grammatical structure of the language for learning a language. And yes, it helps you approach a second language. If you start, for example, if you teach Spanish, if your mother tongue is Spanish and you don't know English, and you start teaching Spanish as a second language, el presente al pasado, el presente continuo, el pasado continuo, el presente perfecto, etc., then you are aware of the grammatical structuring of the language. And then when you start actually learning a second language, a different one, you have that advantage. But it's not a big advantage. What is a big advantage is if after puberty, after age 12, 13, 14, after puberty, if you learn a second language well, and that takes a long time, the third language is much quicker. For example, it took me 3,000 hours to learn Spanish well. And it took me only 300 hours to reach a relatively good level of French after having learned Spanish. If I had started French from the beginning, 3,000 hours like Spanish. But it's important. But French is very similar to Spanish. Yo soy, je suis. Il est, elle est. So it's quite similar. But if I imagine learning Chinese or Japanese would be very challenging. More questions. So let's see. What do you recommend to improve listening comprehension? 1,000 hours of watching YouTube with interviews in English. There's no way. The only way to gain a good ear is listening and hearing. Direct listening and indirect hearing. How? Well, if you can't go to Vaughan Town, if you can't go abroad, then go into YouTube or similar and listen to 5 short interviews per day. Listen to 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day. Just watching the interview and listening. An interview with Paul McCartney, an interview with Barack Obama, an interview with Theresa May or Boris Johnson, an interview with Beyonce, an interview with Mick Jagger. It doesn't matter. Just watch these interviews. And it's a quantitative question. I cannot teach you how to understand. It's impossible. You have to solve that problem, exposing your ear to the sound of the language and allowing the language to caress your ear for 1,000 hours. Because when you don't understand, entendido a medias, entendido palabras sueltas, this, if I show you in writing what you didn't understand, usually you understand it quite well. Anda, eso es lo que han dicho. Yes. That means when you don't understand, it's usually because your ear is not discriminating sounds. And so you're not recognizing it. For example, if I hear in Spanish, ¿cuándo le vas a llamar? ¿Cuándo le vas a llamar? ¿Cuándo le vas a llamar? Of course, if a person says to me, ¿cuándo le vas a llamar? I understand. When are you going to call him? But if they say quickly, ¿cuándo le vas a llamar? Vas a. ¿Qué significa vas a? ¿Cuándo le vas a? ¿Le vas a? ¿Le vas? ¿Qué significa le vas? I'm not discriminating that le is le, vas a. When you connect words in a fluid manner, it sounds, an entire sentence or an entire question sounds like one word. ¿Cuándo le vas a llamar? ¿Cuándo le vas a hacer? And so, to discriminate, ¿cuándo le vas a llamar? ¿Cuándo lo vas a hacer? And so you have to discriminate these sounds. And the only way to do it is hearing the language constantly and listening. Passive hearing as well. When I came to Spain, the first 2 weeks I didn't understand anything. But after 7 months, I understood practically everything. Now, during those 7 months, I didn't spend more than 100 hours directly listening to people speaking to me or watching TV. But the sound of the language was floating around me in the restaurants, in the streets, in the bars, in the subway or underground. And so the sound of the language, the music of the language was caressing my ear indirectly. And presto, I started understanding, because I repeat, when you don't understand listening, usually if you see it in writing, you understand it. So it's a question of sound discrimination. And the only way to solve that is to listen, listen, listen. I'm sorry, but there's no secret formula or technical approach to this. It's just pure listening. More questions. Let's see. What about listening while sleeping? No se ha probado nunca. I've been waiting for 45 years. I have heard this. Learning English or improving your English while you sleep. I'm still waiting for the first proven case. Caso demostrable o demostrado. I'm still waiting for that. It's like los ovnis. It's like flying saucers or God. They haven't proven to me yet that God really exists. But I'm inclined to believe. Faith is very powerful. To renounce the idea of faith totally, I think is a bit sad. Faith is very powerful. They say it moves mountains. I haven't seen any mountains move yet, but maybe it's true. And sleep, learning English or learning a second language or improving your mastery of a second language while you sleep, God, I would lose my job. But in any case, I don't think it works, because otherwise people would be doing it a lot. It would be very popular. So my thinking or my opinion right now is that it doesn't help. But you never know. Try it. Try for 2 months. Putting on in bucle. How do you say in bucle? It was in a loop of sentences in one language, in one accent. Don't mix accents. Just one. British accent, American accent, whatever. Bam, bam, bam. And do it all night while you're sleeping for 2 months, and then turn on the television and watch something and see if you understand better. I have my doubts, but I don't know. Next. All right. I listen to you every day by downloading your radio shows in Argentina. Fantastic. In Argentina. Congratulations. I would love to go to see Buenos Aires. I would love to see it, to go up to Misiones and to see the Iguazú, or to go to Córdoba, Rosario, or to Tucumán and Salta, up in the Altiplano up there. And there are many places I would like to go in Argentina. Someday I'll go and I'll rent a car and I'll drive across Las Pampas hasta la Cordillera, to Córdoba and to other places, Mendoza, up in that area. All right, more things. Any useful tips to improve pronunciation? Not really. Just querer es poder. Just focus, try, listen, and just make an effort. Rápido corren los carros del ferrocarril, el perro cerró que no tiene rabo porque Ramón Ramírez se lo ha cortado. I can do it. I can roll my R's because I practice and practice and practice. And you have to practice. And you have to listen. Yerba yet. Ir al diccionario. Donde Y. Y decir todas las palabras relevantes de la sección de la Y. Forzando. Yes. Porque hispanohablantes, Spanish speakers always say, yes. You are very important. Yes. No, yes. You. Yes. Yerba. Yes. Yerba. You. Yerba. Yesterday. Yerba. Yeah. Young. Yerba. Whatever. And you need to practice. And then you go to the J. J. Jill. Jerry. No, Jerry. Tommy Jerry. No, Tom and Jerry. Jerry. And you ja. Como una che vibrada. Cha. Como cha. Ja. And so it's just hard work. It's hard work. D. Dado. Dado que las hadas juegan a los dados, practicando el endurecimiento de la letra D en inglés. For example, in Spanish, you say dado. But in English, dado. La dureza de la D inicial. Dinamarca, dado. Darth Vader, Darth. Darling Darth, etc. And so you need to practice the hard D. You just have to practice. And for most of the pronunciation, you know what you need to try to do. And just practice. Rápido corren los carros del ferrocarril. Oh, it's difficult for me. And it's difficult for you, I know, in English. But querer es poder. Where there's a will, there's a way. And if you don't have a strong will, it's very difficult to master a second language. More questions? No? People is or people aren't? Hombre, people are, por supuesto. In fact, I have an agreement with my best friend, Sergio. His name is Sergio. We have an agreement that if I die before he does, he will organize the American-style funeral with open casket, ataúd abierto. And we made an agreement that he will be standing next to my casket when the people are coming in. And when the people have come in and have sat down, he will say, Richard, the people is here. And I'm convinced I'll wake up and say, R. Because I have been correcting that mistake since, I think since the beginning of time, or maybe a little before. And so people are. In fact, I remember one class I had many years ago, and I forced them for 5 minutes to say people are, until it just becomes automatic. People are. But then the moment they walk out the door of the class, they say people is. And I feel like killing them, strangling them, slitting their throat, cutting their throat. People are. And it's funny because in Spanish, sometimes, of course, la gente es. But many times in Spanish, when people start with the singular, they jump to the plural in the next sentence. For example, la gente cree que es necesario estudiar inglés, pero nunca tienen, bam, and you switch to the third person plural. A veces no tienen la perseverancia, but you begin with la gente cree, y luego dos frases más adelante, a veces piensan, and you switch. People are. Okay, what methods or strategies to learn a language are a waste of time? Let me say it the opposite. There's only 2 strategies that are necessary and priority. All the rest is a waste of, all the rest is second priority. Priority number 1, understanding. Exposing your ear. That's always priority number 1. Always priority number 1. 70% of everything you do on your own concerning English should be the noise of the language, opening and caressing your ear. Listening comprehension is everything. It's everything. Without it, apague vámonos. Without understanding, first time, every time, meanings and nuances, you're dead. Second, agility with the basic grammar. Comí, comiste, comió, comimos, comiste, comieron. Vete, no te vayas, váyase, no se vaya. Iros, no os vayáis, váyanse, no se vaya. Dámelo, no me lo des. Dádmelo, no me lo deis, etc. You have to have agility with the basic elements of grammar, not advanced grammar. Advanced grammar you use once or twice a month. Basic grammar you use 3 times per minute. So basic, those are the only 2 priorities. All the rest, forget it. All the rest. The conditional. We use a conditional twice a week. Passive voice. We use the passive voice 2 or 3 times a day. The phrasal verb to take off. We say take off twice a day. But the verb to be, we use it 3 times per minute. The verb to go, we use it twice per minute. The verb to want, 2 times or twice a minute. So those are the verbs you have to know. The basic motor skills of the language. Las articulaciones, los huesos y la musculatura. Y punto. Y ya está. Trabajar eso. Vocabulary, phrasal, esos son las cejas y las uñas. So, the basic elements of grammar. But number 1, listening. 70% of everything you do, the ear. 29%, basic grammar. Agilización, o oralización, o sea, hacer oral. Y el 1% todo lo demás. So, this is not waste of time, this 1%, but you need to fix your priorities. Okay? Next. Let's see. I have a 3-year-old kid. I have a 3-year-old son or daughter. It sounds a bit, kid. The word kid means chaval, chico, guaje, kid. But we usually say in the plural, my kids. My kids are my children. And the kids son los niños. Los niños que están en el parque. The kids in the park and my kids. And that is okay. But we never say my kid. My kid, we don't say. We say my son or my daughter or my boy or my girl. My little boy, my boy or my girl. But my kid. Okay, I've lost my place. He has a 3-year-old son or a 3-year-old daughter. Oh my God, we've lost our place again. Sorry. I went off on a tangent with the word kid and kids. Yeah. But you can say he's a nice kid. Es un chico majo, agradable. But I've lost my place. Here we are. I have a 3-year-old son at home. We speak to him in the Amazight language. With his future friends, he's going to use Moroccan Arab. Okay. And at school, they're teaching him in classical Arabic and French. Do you have any advice? Advice is not countable. Do you have any advice for me? Let's see. Well, he's speaking at home the dialect of your area. And with his future friends, he's going to use Arabic, Moroccan Arabic. Classical Arabic is necessary because otherwise he can't speak to future friends in Baghdad or Damascus or in Medina or in Cairo. So it's necessary for the Arab world to speak to each other in High Arabic or in the Quran, classical Quran Arabic. I've lost my place again. And then French at school, because in Morocco, in most of Morocco, French is a mandatory course. And English, my God, your son is going to have 5 languages by the time he's 20, which is okay. I know children, I know young adults with 5 languages. I know one girl whose parents are Italian, but she grew up in Rio de Janeiro, so she speaks perfect Portuguese. She went to a British school, so she speaks perfect English. And she came at the age of 14 to Spain and learned Spanish perfectly by the age of 16. And she studied French all her life. And so she has 5 languages easily. But the problem is she's a problem girl. She's vain and stuck up and arrogant. So you can have 5 languages and still not have the right type of attitudes in life for success. But for your son or your daughter, I would recommend also English in addition to the French, local Arabic, Moroccan Arabic, classical Arabic, and your local dialect. It's interesting, where are you from? I mean, it's from Fez, from Marrakech, from Ifran, from Rabat, what area? From Agadir? It's not clear, but thank you for watching. More. Well, okay. Agome. I've been following you for years. Presente perfecto aquí, no el presente continuo. I'm following you. Ahora mismo, que conste que te estoy siguiendo. I'm following you. Ahora bien, si remontas al pasado y lo incorporas con el presente, I've been following you for years. Porque es pasado junto con presente. Empecé a seguirte hace años y sigo siguiéndote. So I've been following you for years. I'm used to listening to you almost every day, and I look forward to having, and I look forward to having a chance to do a Christmas or Easter or summer impact. But I couldn't due to expensive flight tickets, and I've lost my place. Este pantalla pop salta. This screen jumps. All right. But in any case, I hope that when you ask such long questions, of course, I have trouble answering them. All right. Carlos Menendez de Sol. Carlos, Jesus Christ. It's good to see you again. Come on, man. Wow. We got to get together again. Come to my radio show someday, okay, Carlos? You want to say hello? We'll catch up soon. I hope so. Nos pondremos al día. So we'll catch up soon. All right. Agome Romero. Okay, it's interesting with a Spanish surname. I live in the Christmas, but I couldn't do the expensive flight ticket because I live in the Canary Islands. I'm asking, why don't you offer a special offer to Canarian people? We don't have an office in the Canary Islands. It's expensive to grow geographically. To open a new office requires at least 100,000 euros, often 200,000 euros, and there's always a risk that perhaps the investment will not have a good return, and so we have to go slowly and progressively, but securely. But in any case, in the Canary Islands, we can only offer you certain types of products, and there's a strange question concerning fiscalidad on online products that we can't offer in the Canary Islands for some crazy reason that I don't remember and didn't understand when they told me. But in any case, I hope we can help you in the future more, and I hope we can have an office in Tenerife or in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria or somewhere else, or even in Gomera if possible. All right. No more questions. Let's see. Here we are. Do you think that giving more freedom to individual public schools in order to decide how... Yes, I believe that public schools, public, private, the only thing that counts is that the students learn English. Lately, I have a feeling that with the colegios bilingües, the public school is doing a little bit better than many private schools or concertados. So I'm not sure. Nevertheless, the situation is better today, much better today than 20 years ago. But still, the situation needs to improve a lot. And the good situation in what you call colegios bilingües públicos is more in Madrid than in the rest of Spain. In Catalonia, I don't know. But in Madrid, there's a certain degree of success with the bilingual approach. But I'm not sure in Toledo and Valladolid and Vigo and Burgos, I'm not sure. Or in Sevilla, I really don't know. But yes, the only thing that counts this is a long story, but I don't believe in teaching English in primary school or in preschool, escuela infantil. I believe in exposing the kids to English, to hearing it, and reciting things, but never the written word until they reach puberty. Because remember, there's only one objective concerning English. That's that the person speak English well at age 22 or 23. The objectives age 22 and 23, because that's when the young people usually enter the labor market. And that's when el contador empieza, the counter starts at age 23. Before, no. So when a child is born, the parents and the school system have 23 years to solve the English problem. So, sin prisa pero sin pausa. They don't, in the first 12 years, pre-puberty, it's not necessary to learn a lot of English. It's necessary to hear English, to like English, that you like the language, and to be able to pronounce simple things. Then starting at age 12, then we start the written word, grammar, etc., until we have another 10 years. And so we have more than 20 years to solve this problem. We need to do it the right way. All right. But more freedom for the schools, I always agree with. More questions. I've heard a lot of times the native people say peoples. No, we don't. We only use peoples when we're talking basically in areas of sociology. The peoples, the people. I never use it, to tell you the truth. The peoples. In what case, Rob? What would you use it?
The people's champion?
Well, that's using it as with a Saxon genitive, with the apostrophe S. El campeón del pueblo, the people's champions, but that was apostrophe S. But peoples, we use it, but we use it in philosophy sometimes, or in sociology and anthropology. The peoples of Angola. Nah, I haven't seen it so often, and I don't think I ever use it, peoples, but maybe I do. One people, yes. I've used that because in the American Declaration of Independence, they say, when it's necessary for one people to stand up against the English, he's English, or the British, okay? One people, un pueblo, pero luego los diferentes pueblos, different peoples, okay. Different peoples around the world. But that's forcing it, un poco con cazador. That's forcing it a little bit. Arturo, let's see. Do you recommend learning another language if I have not learned English No. I spoke about this before. Solve English. English is so important normally. I mean, there are certain companies in which you need German or Norwegian or French or Italian. But in 95% or 98% of the cases, English is the official language and the common language. Learn English well. Learn English well before you dilute your efforts with other languages. Learn English well. And then focus on the third language. But learn English well. Don't spread your resources thin. El que mucho abarca poco aprieta. Okay. Don't spread your resources too thin. And your resources, your energy, your focus, and your time. So focus on English. Next. Is watching a lot of cartoons in English helpful? Yes, for your kids and for adults too. Watch it. If they're speaking, don't watch the Pink Panther. The Pink Panther never talks. But if it's a cartoon with a lot of dialogue, yes, I recommend cartoons. In fact, children begin to focus on cartoons at age 2.5. I would recommend only in English, because the children children at that age don't question. They think that all animation is in that strange sound. It's not the same as their parents' sound. And so they don't question. And so you can, for at least 1 or 2 years, or force them. You can watch cartoons, Jimmy or Jaime. You can watch cartoons only if it's in English. You set the rules. And so they watch it in English. So yes, it's very effective. 19 years ago, I met you in a gym in Ventas, but unfortunately in that time I didn't know you're a famous and such talented person, genius teacher. Thank you, Mohammed. That's interesting. I have a good friend by the name of Mohammed who was here the other day with me on the radio in a gym in Ventas. All right. Yes, well, maybe I remember a gym in Ventas, but it was on Alcalde López Casero Street near the Cine Canciller. Maybe it was there where we met. Mohammed, it's a pleasure to meet you again. More questions? Have we finished? This party is over. Yeah, we're coming up to the end of an hour. But as usual, I end up talking about the same thing. Where to prioritize with English. Listening comprehension is everything. It's everything. It's everything. You must understand. It is more important than any other aspect of language learning. And it's sad that the tests like the TOEFL, the TOEIC, the IELTS, or the Cambridge, that this listening comprehension is maybe 25%. And the test is not really the reality of listening comprehension challenge. And then these tests also, You need to be good in grammar. And there are a lot of excellent people who do excellent jobs and are very effective with imperfect grammar. You are never going to speak English perfectly, but you're perfectly capable of being perfectly effective in communication situations with imperfect speech. But you need perfect ear. Your speech will always be imperfect. My speech in my own language, in English, is imperfect. I have my eloquent moments and my less eloquent moments. Dios mío, qué mal me expresé ayer en la reunión. No. So we never have complete command of power and powerful impact when we speak. But we must understand. So I repeat, you will never speak English perfectly, but you are perfectly capable of being perfectly effective, eficaz, in any situation with imperfect speech, but with perfect understanding. That's the important thing. All right. What series would I recommend? Dicen que serie de televisión, ninguna. Fuera. Ni series, ni cine. Fuera. Let me tell you why. Hay algunas excepciones, pero no muchas. There are some exceptions, but not many. A movie normally lasts 100 minutes. Now, if you focus, the next time you watch a movie with a stopwatch, you will see that in the 100 minutes, they are only talking 15 minutes. Only 15 minutes. So it's not a very efficient way of approaching listening. The other 85 minutes is transition, action, whatever. So you're only getting 15 minutes of listening meat for 100 minutes. Second, with the movies, the script writers, the directors, and the actors inject so much creativity in the speech patterns that it's difficult to understand. Movies are more difficult to understand than real life. When I came to Spain, it took me 7 months to understand Spanish in the streets. It took me 3 years to understand movies. So don't judge your listening comprehension ability by movies. And television series are even worse, especially comedies in which there's so many verbal gags that it's impossible. I even have trouble understanding sometimes. And I guarantee you, when I watch a television series in English, at least once during the 60 minutes, I stop, go back and listen again, stop, and then go to the Spanish and listen to the Spanish dubbing. Because again, English and American actors, English-speaking actors are actors. They are not necessarily voice artists or voiceover artists. I switched to Spanish because the dubbing is normally done by voiceover artists who have a beautiful voice, and they have complete high resolution in their speech. But for example, even my mother said, I never understand Marlon Brando when he speaks, because he doesn't speak. He just whispers. He murmurs. So actors speak like this. You know, the other day, well, yeah. Hey, Jimmy, what are you going to... I don't understand sometimes. So don't watch movies and don't watch TV series. You need to listen to audio or watch documentaries about sharks or about whatever, or about, the Nazis. All the documentaries nowadays are either about sharks or about the Germans, the Second World War. And so watch that. If you have a high level of English, you can watch series. And also, or if you promise me that you will not become demoralized. The problem is when you watch movies and watch series, you say, no tengo ni idea del inglés. My English is nil. It's not true. So many times movies and TV series undermine the confidence of my students, mina la confianza of my students. And so I have a psychological problem, not only a technical and linguistic problem. So my recommendation is audio, 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 not video. Okay? More. This is Vicente. How can I get more comprehension in English? Woof. Have you been watching? I can't repeat myself. YouTube interviews. I want you to watch 10 interviews a day. One with Paul McCartney, another with Mick Jagger, another with Barack Obama, another with Donald Trump, another with, I don't know, anybody who speaks English. And you can find 10,000 YouTube interviews or debates and things where people are speaking English on YouTube. That's what I recommend. And Vaughan Radio, our radio as well. All right. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your comments and advice. Advice nunca tiene ese. Advice is asesoramiento. Y has dicho aquí asesoramientos. Advice, advice, advice. Always in the singular. It's uncountable. I need some advice. Can you give me some advice? If you want to make it countable, you say a piece of advice. But that's forcing it. Can you give me a piece of advice? Can you give me a tip? Can you give me a piece of... No, can you give me some advice? I need some advice. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. I love your idea about the importance of agility to be able to communicate. Well, yeah. Agility with your basic grammar when you speak and understanding. That's everything. Everything. All the rest is picata minuta. Next. Is Murder, She Wrote one exception? It was really funny how you... Well, yes and no. Murder, She Wrote was an exception because we dissected it. Lo diseccionamos. And so we made it accessible to you. It's a very good program, but it wasn't successful financially, but it was very good. Murder, She Wrote. But no, I still, despite the fact we used it successfully, I don't recommend television series. I don't. Maybe there's one or two series that could be exceptions, but usually series are very, very difficult. For example, The Wire, of the underworld in Baltimore. I had trouble understanding that. Breaking Bad, listening to all the characters on Breaking Bad, many of them are of the Mexican mafia. It's pretty tough to understand these people. But in any case, so, hello, Teacher Richard. The first time I heard you was when I was a soldier in Spain. Well, now I'm in Ecuador, and I'm still listening to your classes. I've even got the game, the PSP game, yes. I just wanted you to know who I am and the effect you've had on my future. Thank you so much. Thank you. From Ecuador. Are you from Quito, from Guayaquil, or from other areas, or from, what's the name? I'm forgetting some of the names of the towns in Ecuador. But in any case, thank you very much. And I'm glad to know that I'm helping you. Next, Hiya. And please, do not tell your students to come to Manchester, UK. Do not tell. What's the problem? Manchester's a fine place. My daughter lived in that area for 5.5 or 6 years. I like Manchester, and I like Manchester United and Manchester City, and I like the area between Manchester and Liverpool, Warrington, for example. All of these areas. It rains every day. It rains 320 days a year, but I still like it. But you said, do not tell your students to come to Manchester. Okay. Well, I'm going to say the opposite. Go to Manchester. Go to Wilmslow, near Manchester. From Manchester, you can go to many different places. It's very interesting. You can go to the Lake District. You can go to Liverpool. You can go to Chester. You can go to Wales, northern Wales, to the slate mining district. You can go over to Yorkshire. You can see the little town where the Bronte sisters lived and died. And you can go down to Stafford. You can go down to Birmingham, you know? And so there are a lot of things you can do from Manchester. You can fly from Madrid to Manchester, rent a car, boom, 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 and you can see many of the best places in the United States, in the United Kingdom, starting with a base in Manchester. And besides, Manchester is a very noble city. All right. Richard, I love and enjoy listening to Vaughan Radio. I love the American accent. Do you really? It sure is nice. Well, American accent, but my accent is American, but it's refined American. The British whisper English, and the Americans speak English like they have marbles in their mouth. If you want to speak with an American accent, take a pencil and put it in your mouth and talk like this. It's sure a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to meet you. And that's American. So don't judge the American accent on my accent, because there are many different, well, many no. In the UK, there are 1,000 different accents. In the US, there are basically 4. Yeah, you have the 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 redneck Southern accent. Then you have the refined Southern accent, and then you have the general American accent, like I'm speaking now, and then you have Boston. Fewer and fewer people in Boston have a Boston accent, and the New York, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx accents. But no, America, because of the power of communication, of the media, it's blending out. And you have people who speak standard English like me, and people who speak folk English, like folk music, folk English. We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee, etc. All right, Mancunian accent I meant. Okay. Well, the Mancunian accent is interesting. And it doesn't matter the accent. If the person is cultured and intelligent, it's beautiful English. For me, Spanish, for example, they say the best Spanish is in Valladolid and Zamora, in that area, Salamanca. But I have heard people speak beautiful Spanish in Corpus Christi, Texas, or San Antonio, Texas. I've heard people speak beautiful English in Ecuador and in Peru. If they have a cultivated way of speech, intelligent speech, the Spanish is beautiful everywhere. So the accent is accents are basically neutral, well, relative, because what counts is what the person says and how the person says it in the impact. The accent really doesn't matter. What about reading a lot? It helps getting more vocabulary. Yes and no. Well, reading helps, but only after a certain level, because when you read, you see many words you don't know, and you don't know how to pronounce these words. Unlike Spanish, it says mesa, suelo, techo. It's very easy. Sofa, etc. But in English, you look at a word, if you don't know the word, it's impossible to know how to pronounce. Not even me. When I see a word I've never seen in English, often I don't know how to pronounce it. How do you pronounce this? Recipe or recipe? Or this Greek Penelope or Penelope and things. We don't know until we hear the word. And so reading, second, when you read, many times there are a lot of words you don't understand, and you spend your time looking in the dictionary, and you realize that these words are not really relevant. She creeped into the room. She creeped into the room. Wow. Crept into the room. Wow. Well, you know that she entered the room some way, and you look it up, creep. It means entrar con pasos amortiguados. De acuerdo, yeah. But the word creep, the verb creep, you can use it once in your lifetime, twice in your lifetime. Into the room is what's important. So if you're going to read, I would recommend that you read without a dictionary. Just read. And read bestsellers where the power of the storyline is stronger than the language impediment. All right. I think the party's over. Yeah. It's been a pleasure. I hope you have benefited from these for a long time. I gave you more than an hour. Hey, I need to charge you extra for that. Yeah. We need to charge them extra for this. You have to pay more, for the extra hour. More questions. Another from Mohammed. Through your daily show, I know every single detail of you because you teach us. But Mohammed, be careful. I don't always tell the truth. Don't trust me. It's not true. Usually I tell the truth. Sometimes I sugar the story, or sometimes I tell a story of something that happened to me, but really it happened to a friend of mine. And so I personalize it to make it more interesting and for people to listen more than saying a friend of mine had this experience. No, I had this experience. Okay, no more questions. I'll answer these questions, but I have to go. All right. So, are you live? Yeah, I'm live right now, real time. It is 10 minutes past 1 on Monday, the 26th of August, 2019. And I'm sitting here and I'm hungry. I want to go have lunch. Okay. So through your daily show, Mohammed, again, through your daily show, I know we had that one. I'm not going to write a book about myself. That's vanity. I'm not vain enough. Tengo un poco de vanidad, pero no mucho. All right. And so, no, a book about myself, no. But I do have a book I wrote. It's in Spanish, Mohammed, and it's called Nuestra Hora en el Escenario. which is basically a philosophical book. If you're interested, you can find it on the web. Nuestra Hora en el Escenario, that I wrote in 2009. All right. Eric Gonzalovich. Wow. Are you sure it's Gonzalovich or Gonzalez? Because Gonzalez means hijo de Gonzalo. And Gonzalovich is hijo de Gonzalo too. Because the vich means hijo de. All right, so I think he's creating a name. Why do you know so much about geography? Well, why not? Have you traveled a lot? Yes, I've traveled a lot, but that's not the reason. Or just read a lot. No, I have a bad illness called curiosity. And I like looking at maps. All my life I've enjoyed looking at maps. And so geography for me is fascinating. It's fascinating. And also geopolitics and geomilitary operations. Geography has been so important in understanding history. For example, the Central Asian steppe for 5,000 kilometers or 4,000 kilometers, just a flat lands with high grass for grazing, so people could move across and their animals could graze on the way. And so all of the mass movement. So if you understand geography, it's much easier to understand and to appreciate history as well. All right, let's see. By watching you from the Amazon jungle, the oil producers. Wow, you're from El Coca, you're from Francisco de Orellana, was a Spanish explorer who went down the Amazon, and he died there, I think. And the Lope de Aguirre followed him. But it's a very interesting story, the story of Lope de Aguirre, if you don't know the story. Okay, more stuff. Thank you, Richard. Pleased to meet you. Pleased to meet you. Pleased to meet you. Nice to meet you. Robert Mitchum. I had a student who went to America, and he was at a cocktail party, and his English was very low. And everybody was saying, good to meet you, nice to meet you, and he didn't understand what they were saying. He just simply said, Robert Mitchum, Robert Mitchum. And the Americans didn't realize what he was saying. All right. Pleased to meet you. Do you think... I lost it. It disappeared from me. But this is my last answer. Eh? I have to go. Come on. My helper is not very helpful. Yeah. He's feverishly working. Febrilmente. All right. Okay. Sandra, ha ha ha. In English, we don't say ha 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 ha. We say ha ha, kodachi. Ha 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 ha. All right? So from now on, Sandra, don't make this mistake again. Ha 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 ha. Not ha 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 ha. Because if people see that, an English speaker will say ja 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 ja. Because of the letter J, of course. And so we're going to try to find the answer. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you, Mohammed. And hello, I enjoyed your classes. And finally, Lucas, pleased to meet you. Let's see. To meet you, do you think this kind of class of English, do you think this kind of English class, English con mayúscula, in the future, the presential class is dead? No. The teacher will continue to be the secret to motivation and the secret to learning. The physical human teacher. Online, e-learning, digitalization, it will always be improving as a complement and supplement. But the teacher, people like me in the classroom, bam, 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 orientating and motivating and inspiring cannot be changed. A robot or a computer program or an application will not be able to replace me. Not in this century, I don't think. But who knows? Thank you very much for everything. Bye-bye.